I love coffee. And you know what? Sweden, where I'm from, loves coffee too. In the past few years, coffee's been getting a bad rep from so many different sources. And you know what? I think it's time to change that. I want to share the benefits of drinking coffee, the supposed downsides, and how you can fit coffee into a healthy lifestyle. But at the same time, I'm going to be driving around to 7 different locations on this beautiful morning and try their black coffee and give them a rate or a ranking. So we're gonna find out who's got the best coffee in my area where I live in Los Angeles. Let's dive in. All right, we have just arrived to our first location, which is Tang and Java. This will be one of the few coffee shops that are not a part of the chain, but I wanted to try something more boutique, something more local, and then we're gonna compare that with the big chain coffee after. Okay, excuse the sound. We're in a parking lot and there's a lot of cars driving around. Tang and Java. First cup of coffee, $3.50. Wow, this is the type of coffee that I like. I don't like those blonde roasts with a lot of acidity, fruity. That's what I call hipster coffee here in the US. All the cool coffee shops serve that. I like the more nutty and chocolatey coffee. This is great. Definitely ranked number 1 so far. All right, so let's talk about coffee downsides. There's so many health concerns that have been attributed to coffee. Some of the biggest ones are insomnia and similar sleeping issues, arrhythmia, anxiety, dizziness, shakiness, and gastrointestinal issues. That's a long list of negative claims about drinking coffee. So it's no wonder that some people want to cut down on their coffee drinking habits or quit drinking altogether. Not me though. In order to explain why it's actually okay to keep drinking coffee, I need to talk about the mechanics behind these bad health effects. For example, gastrointestinal issues are thought to be caused by a mixture of caffeine and the coffee acids that comes from the actual beans. These substances seem to increase stomach acids when consumed. However, the relationship between coffee drinking and having stomach troubles is not clearly outlined. We don't know if that increase in stomach acid can be connected directly to issues like heartburn. In short, it's completely up in the air whether you will get stomach issues or not, and the amount of coffee you need to drink is very relevant. Other problems like arrhythmia, insomnia, anxiety, dizziness, and caffeine withdrawal symptoms are related to caffeine. You can avoid them all by simply drinking decaf, but you can also manage those symptoms by drinking coffee more responsibly if you're being affected by the amount that you're putting in your body. You can try to cut off caffeine consumption by 2 p.m. or even noon. Another way to manage your caffeine is drinking smaller doses of coffee spread out over the day. A sudden boost of caffeine rather than the total amount of caffeine can be the real cause of some of the issues I mentioned. There's some more downsides I want to cover, but first let's head to the next location. So in Sweden where I'm from, we even have a word for it, fika, which is when you take a little break with coffee and a snack, and everyone's doing it. No matter where you work, if you don't work, you do that a couple of times a day. You just take a break, grab a little snack and a cup of coffee. Dunkin' Donuts, America's coffee, $3.59. It's hot. It's not bad. So after going from the first place to this is a little more watery, especially Europeans will, think that American coffee can be a little more watery, but the taste is really good. I like the taste, maybe a little watery, at least after having that coffee that we just had. So yeah, I'm gonna rate this on second, coming in second place. So rank number 2. Dunkin' Donuts. For most people, the upper limit is 400 milligrams of caffeine in a day. That's around 4 to 5 full cups of coffee. Although it's not common to reach or surpass that number, everyone is affected differently. I would definitely encourage you to change your habits if you're facing negative repercussions. That being said, it's very difficult to find negative health effects that comes from the coffee itself, and not from the caffeine, the lactose from milk and creams, sugars, or just irresponsible drinking habits. If you're drinking coffee instead of water, or you load up your coffee with creamer, then you should probably make some changes. It's not the coffee that's being the problem, but drinking coffee in a way that's unsustainable and unhealthy for you. As someone who loves coffee, this is a huge relief. But someone from Sweden, it's also a bit of a no-brainer. I also said we have a word, fika, which means coffee break with a snack. This is something we all do almost regardless of your job. You'll get a couple of fika breaks in a day. At the same time, Sweden's a very healthy country. It has the 12th highest life expectancy in the world, and it's doing great on other health metrics too. So as a part of my fitness philosophy, I would never tell someone that they cannot be healthy or reach their fitness goals while still drinking coffee. Just like I wouldn't tell someone to stop doing a totally safe hobby that they love. Okay, for this next coffee, I actually want to run home and throw in my homemade coffee into this battle royale. Let's go. Okay, we had to make a stop at home. This is what I use at home. Gevalia, it's a Swedish brand, Swedish roasted coffee. I'm also pretty nerdy with my coffee, so I use a Mocha Master. I think it's a Dutch company. They've been around forever, but it's one of those classic coffee makers that is considered to be the gold standard. Well, yeah, this is not really a fair fight. I mean, I picked the beans that I like and I use my own coffee maker. I made it just the way I like it. But yeah, I will have to place this as the number one so far today. So we got homemade coffee in the first spot. We got Tangy Java in the second spot. And in the third spot, we have Dunkin' Donuts. A lot of the celebrities I train have some awesome hobbies outside of their jobs, and obviously plenty of money too. And between my time in the industry and my time making house calls, I've seen how they spend both. And guess what? Lots of them are into something even more exciting than coffee: fine art. Seriously, either hanging on the walls or buying it as an investment piece, or both. Why do I bring up fine art? Well, up until the 1950s, most people couldn't afford coffee. It was only for the very upper class. But now we can all enjoy its benefits because we have more access and better prices. And this is the same thing that's been happening in the fine arts world, that celebrities and billionaires have dominated. Except instead of getting more caffeine, people have gotten back a total of over $60 million in investor proceeds to date. $60 million from fine art distributed back to everyday people. It's all happening with today's sponsor, Masterworks art investing platform. Now, obviously I'm a fitness expert, not art, but that's the whole point. With Masterwork, you don't need to be an art expert or have a celebrity net worth either. It's easy to invest alongside your stocks and bonds. So check out Masterworks using my link in the description to skip the wait list or the QR code on screen.
Past results are not indicated to future performances and do not include unsold works. Investing involves risks. See important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.com/CD.
Now let's head back out for some more taste tests while we dive into the research that's been done about coffee. The best part of trying 7 different coffees is that not only gonna drink 7 cups of coffee, I'm gonna get on a plane and fly to Sweden later today. So I'm gonna be stuck for 13, 14 hours on their flight. So might get interesting. Yeah, this is not even fair. Blue Bottle knows their stuff. I love this coffee. $5 for a black cup of coffee. It's a lot. But man, it's good. I would love to rank my own coffee as number 1. I think I need to put Blue Bottle up there. But I'll rank it at number 2, not because of taste, because of the price. How about that? So taste-wise, same as mine. Price-wise, Blue Bottle's ranked number 2. So now my coffee's number 1, Blue Bottle's number 2, Tangy Java's number 3, and Dunkin' Donuts number 4. With that out of the way, we can get into the exciting part, how coffee actually can be healthy to consume, rather than neutral or a negative force in your life. Coffee drinking has been linked to lower mortality, both all-cause mortality and mortality from cardiovascular disease. But don't take this the wrong way. Drinking coffee probably won't make you immortal. At least we don't have the evidence of that yet. Scientists are still guessing why there's an association between coffee and lowered mortality. All we know is that the correlation is there. In my mind, the lowered cardiovascular mortality is especially interesting. Claims about arrhythmia, chest pains from consuming too much caffeine might lead people to think that coffee is bad for heart health. However, it seems like coffee might even be helpful and certainly isn't hurtful. This points towards responsible and reasonable drinking being the key. More than your coffee intake, you probably need to monitor your caffeine intake. And of course, you should always pay attention to your body. But nowhere does it suggest that you have to stop stop drinking coffee to have a healthy heart. Amen to that. Okay, Paul Starbucks Pike Place Roast. I actually like Starbucks. I like Starbucks a lot. It's interesting though, now comparing to the other coffees next to this one or back to back, I can say that it's not as good as I thought it would be. I'll place this on 4th place out of 5, just above Dunkin' Donuts. I think that Tangy Java, Blue Bottle, and homemade coffee is better, but still not bad. During the coffee roasting process, a substance called acrylamide is formed. Don't kill me if I said that the wrong way. I am Swedish after all. Organizations like the International Agency for Research on Cancer and the US Natural Toxicology Program consider acrylamide to be a possible carcinogen for humans, although it isn't certain. What's especially uncertain is if acrylamide content in food is meaningful enough to warrant a change in the food we eat. Because if that's the case, then coffee is on the chopping block. This gives ammunition to some so-called experts to suggest people stop drinking coffee altogether. But does the research really support that? Actually, even though there's been studies investigating the link between coffee and cancer for over a decade, we haven't found proof of coffee being correlated with an increased likelihood of cancer, much less causing cancer. In fact, recent studies have found a connection between coffee and lowered cancer risk instead. This is the case for colorectal, breast, and liver cancers. Once again, it's not clear if coffee is the contributing factor in a lower cancer risk, but as for right now, we have no reason to believe that coffee will cause cancer. Not only coffee is associated with a decreased risk of liver cancer, but it's also associated with a decreased risk of chronic liver disease. These effects are independent of caffeine, so drinking decaf or regular coffee doesn't seem to have an impact. And the list just keeps going. Some studies have connected coffee consumption with a lower risk of insulin resistance, and as a result, lower the risk of type 2 diabetes. So, 229, not too bad, not too bad. So we're at McDonald's and we're gonna try their coffee. I don't know if I should get my hopes up too high. So while we're waiting in the driveway, we're gonna talk about neurology. There was even a study that attempted to correlate high coffee consumption and cognitive decline or dementia. Although the study was unable to pin cognitive decline on coffee, it did find that there was a significant association between high levels of coffee consumption and lowered risk of Alzheimer's disease. I want to emphasize again that just because studies are finding great connections between coffee and improved health doesn't mean that coffee is causing good health. And what it does mean is that coffee doesn't seem to be bad for your health and has the potential to be a healthy addition to your diet. And some positive effects of coffee are more concrete than just an association. For example, we know that low doses of caffeine can help soothe depression symptoms by increasing dopamine levels. For many of us, including most Swedes, we don't need a reason to drink coffee because it's already part of our day-to-day lives. That in and of itself can be enough of a reason to include it alongside the rest of your healthy lifestyle choices. Yes, there's a strong coffee culture in Sweden, but there's also a strong coffee culture in America, Canada, and many other countries. There are places where going out for coffee is one of the primary ways of meet up, conduct business, and is a regular morning ritual. Buying someone a coffee is a generic offer of goodwill, and jokes about the consumption of caffeine and coffee are everywhere in America. It wouldn't be fair to ignore how important coffee is to people. It's a social ritual, and without any evidence of coffee being bad for you, there's no need to avoid it. All right, let's try this McDonald's coffee. This is the wateriest coffee of them all. This is like classic American coffee or traditional American coffee, which for me as a Swede at least, don't hate me America, but it's a little too watery, and this is definitely going at the bottom of the list. Alrighty, we're here at the Coffee Bean and the Tea Leaf, and this is our 7th stop. I'm so caffeinated. Oh my Lord. I can tell you right away, this is not my type of coffee. This is a little too watery, and I don't love the taste of it. So it's pretty easy for me to put this just above McDonald's. So this I place on 6 spots. So now we've tried all 7 spots, well, 6 plus homemade coffee. And number 1 is actually my homemade coffee. Why? Because I care about coffee and I know how I like it. So yeah, you can disregard that obviously, because you can't come home to me. Well, for all of you out there, you can't come home to me to have coffee anytime you want. So let's move on to second place. Second place is Blue Bottle Coffee. Tremendous coffee. So good. Third place, Tang and Java. Really good coffee too. So if you're in the LA area, check it out. Number 4, Starbucks. Number 5, Dunkin' Donuts. Number 6, Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. Number 7, McDonald's. And that's the list. Perhaps the most relevant information from all of these studies is that caffeine isn't responsible for most of the health benefits coffee can give you, even though it's the culprit for most of the health detriments. Instead, the benefits of coffee are suspected to be related to the actual makeup of coffee, which is filled with polyphenols and flavonoids. Some of the notable compounds include chlorogenic acids, cafestol, and Warhol. I don't know how to pronounce that. Although we don't know what coffee can and cannot do, these compounds give us a reason to believe that coffee can have a positive impact on health, since many of them have anti-inflammatory and antioxidants properties. The key takeaway are about how much coffee you should consume, who should drink coffee, and what type of coffee you should drink. I already mentioned that either caffeine or decaf coffee is okay, but another thing to keep in mind is that 3-4 cups a day is a good target to aim for. This is a typical 8 to 10 ounce coffee mug, and you probably drink out of something similar at home. I know I do. The research tells us that more coffee doesn't mean more health benefits, and 3-4 cups seems to be the sweet spot. Plus, it's underneath the daily maximum for caffeine consumption. And of course, some groups are more at risk for negative side effects, like people with certain heart diseases, people with gastrointestinal issues, and pregnant women. Even though so many experts are talking negatively about coffee, there do seem to be some health benefits. As I've said many times throughout the video, we have no concrete reason to avoid coffee entirely, or even cut down on coffee if you're only drinking a couple of cups a day. Coffee can definitely be a part of a healthy lifestyle, so maybe give it a try if you're not a coffee drinker.